Hello guys, I'm RESOULA, and I'm sick and dying from a flu while I'm recording this, but I am here to talk to you about Galactic Ruler, which is a game that is actually, in a way, the sequel to Supreme Ruler Ultimate. It's what BattleGoat Studios made directly after making Supreme Ruler Ultimate. That was their next game. Galactic Ruler takes the Supreme Ruler Ultimate, Supreme Ruler in general, formula, and it brings it into space, despite not shipping with as many new features and different changes, maybe, as Supreme Ruler 2030 did from Supreme Ruler Ultimate. It is a vastly different game, even if it is in the same style, and I'd say it's probably more unique of a game compared to Supreme Ruler Ultimate and those that came before it than Supreme Ruler 2030. I've actually been looking forward to playing this game and hoping to make content on it and whatnot ever since it was first announced. And with that being said, you may notice how I kept posting SRU. I even touched other games, Imperial Rome, Crusader King, Strategic Command. I'm posting Supreme Ruler 2030 content, the campaigns now, but I haven't posted a single Galactic Ruler video. Not playthrough, not coverage. And so I want to talk to you about the game and why, despite being pretty hyped up to play the game, I haven't posted any videos on it. First, let's talk a little bit about the game itself. So it's a 4X game with real-time pausable. It's got the basic Supreme Ruler like planet map, and then you go into space. There's a new space map on top of that, and then like a bigger galactic map on top of that. It is Supreme Ruler within Supreme Ruler within Supreme Ruler. And it's got so much stuff to do because of that. It's very much built around exploration and everything you would know a 4X as being, instead of just being around the politics and the war, the geopolitics, that Supreme Ruler is generally based on, and the resource management, right? There's only 4 resources in this game. There's 11 in Supreme Ruler. In fact, in terms of resources, the game plays a lot more like an RTS than it does a geopolitical strategy game or a grand strategy game or anything like that. Because you pick one of many, I think it's like 13 or something, different races, and they all interact with these 4 resources very differently. Some of them, most of them, eat agriculture. Normal, right? And then they have certain needs for other things, like they need energy for energy reasons, right? But then some races, very few of them, eat energy, right? Their main power source for them too, as well as for other races, they need it for food. So this already makes a unique dynamic, right? Because their planets have the most energy. So if you are short on energy, which you really are in this game, like all the time, you want their planets. But they're not competing with you for food. They're not going for planets that you would otherwise want. So maybe they're a natural ally. Really depends how you approach it, right? And then this leads for so many opportunities for multiplayer, as well as just general single player, like how am I going to interact with these races? It's a galaxy map that you customize like in just other 4X games. You can make it into different shapes. You can have big games, you can have small games. Due to the randomly generated nature of the game, every game can be different, especially if you're swapping races all the time. Your game's gonna be different. You have your land combat, your air, your naval combat, and your space combat. There's a lot of different aspects to this game. Every planet is essentially its own colony. This is where BattleGoat really changed the colony system and developed it, because they made it so that you are technically only really controlling your general space stuff and one planet. Anything else you make as a colony to kind of simulate the potential independence that other colonies would have from their homeworlds. Now, you can play as your colony, ignore the main empire. You can play as your empire and then go into your colony and then give them specific orders. You can set priorities for your colony to follow in their development, and then just be completely hands-off. Make them military, make them economy, make them other things, whatever you want, really. The whole galaxy starts out as a fog of war, which is big, right? Because now you have to explore. There's map sharing. information sharing. This is where BattleGo got in 2030, the whole hiding your resources and your research and things like that, and needing a treaty to see what the other person has. It was from this game. A lot of changes that was in Supreme Ruler 2030 came from here. This was the 64-bit game, not Supreme Ruler 2030. They just marketed that more. In addition to this, it has the pirates that you can fight. You know, every 4X game has pirates these days. All in all, it was a game I was really looking forward to playing. And one day, I actually went ahead and I bought it. And I played it. I tried it. And it was really hard to learn. It's so different to Supreme Ruler. Even if the core, like, combat systems are the same and some of the UI designs are familiar, it's still really, really different because it is a 4X game at heart, and I had a lot of fun with it. But it also is so much different to Supreme Ruler in a number of ways in how it released. And that's probably why, even if you follow my Supreme Ruler Ultimate videos, even if you play Supreme Ruler 2030, you may just not have heard of this. They bundled Supreme Ruler 2030 with Ultimate, not with Galactic Ruler. And there's a reason for this. This game, while it was a financial success, all right? They got the money they needed out of it. I know some of the most like hardcore SRU like fanboys are just like living in some dystopia like universe that they created where because they don't like Galactic Ruler and because they didn't want it, it was not a financial success. But if it wasn't, you wouldn't have Supreme Ruler 2030. It wouldn't exist. They wouldn't have been able to afford to make it unless they just went super far in debt or had a Kickstarter or somehow got a bunch of free money despite making a financial failure, right? So it is a financial success. The devs have said it. It's obvious that it is one. But it didn't sell very well at all compared to the Supreme Ruler series. There was a very big sentiment in the pre-established Supreme Ruler community that they did not want this game. They did not want Supreme Ruler in space. They did not want a 4X game. They wanted Supreme Ruler. And I think this really affected Supreme Ruler 2030's development, if you ask me. If you look at some of the main complaints of Supreme Ruler 2030 and its design, it really all just comes down to people saying this game is not accessible for new players in an era where, like, in grand strategy, making your game as dumbed down, as accessible, and as not niche anymore as possible is the norm. It's what the average person expects, thanks to Paradox. They expect you to dumb your game down, remove systems, make it so that they can understand it, so that they can play it. I just look at like Hearts of Iron 4 is a perfect example of this. Have any person that has only played Hearts of Iron 4 try to play Hearts of Iron 3. Guarantee you they'll uninstall it like 99 out of 100 times. They're just gonna uninstall it because they can't play that, at least not yet, right? You gotta start small, work your way up. That's what people are expecting from like new grand strategy games these days. And in a way, I think that's what Galactic Ruler did. I think it did that. I find that the focus on exploration and etc. has made the game far simpler to play and more accessible than Supreme Ruler ever was. But if you look at Supreme Ruler 2030, they kept it very similar. They added systems. They didn't remove them. They really improved the tutorial, but you don't see that getting a lot of praise because the game is still very hard to approach if you're brand new to it. And this was intentional. I am very confident after speaking to Chris about the game and seeing the changes they made and seeing the feedback that they give their own players that talk about the game. I am confident that Supreme Ruler 2030 was a sequel to Supreme Ruler for the already existing Supreme Ruler player base. It was not, does not seem like it was, intended to draw in a new audience, to expand the audience or anything. If that's possible, I'm sure the devs would have loved it. But this time, I think the players got like exactly what they wanted. I think the community around Supreme Ruler got exactly what they asked for. They wanted a newer, updated Supreme Ruler game. And that's what they got. They got Supreme Ruler Ultimate on newer infrastructure, really. And they got it with more features that have been highly requested. They got what they wanted. Maybe they didn't get everything they wanted, but they got what they wanted. because Galactic Ruler was not what they wanted. And a lot of them didn't buy it, even if it was a financial success. It didn't pull in new players because Galactic Ruler dumbed down the Supreme Ruler formula so much. I still love it though. I think it's great. I think it's one of the most in-depth 4X games of all time. But it still dumbed down the Supreme Ruler formula in a very non-offensive way, very not offensive. And it didn't pull in new players. They didn't get a bunch of new grand strategy players. They didn't get a bunch of new 4X players. Did they get some? Honestly, probably. They probably did. Not everybody's vocal on the internet, you know? I'm sure they got some of that. But in a conversation about Galactic Ruler, in the time where Supreme Ruler 2030 just released, I thought this would be good to mention. I thought this would be fun to include in the topic. Now, about me playing Galactic Ruler. I have not posted any Galactic Ruler videos yet. I will post Galactic Ruler videos. It will happen. I did not have the game around release. I was not in communications with the devs at the time enough to get a free copy of it on release and beta access like I did with Supreme Ruler 2030. That came after. I reached out when 2030 came out for content creator reasons. I knew it was going to be more hyped up. I knew people were excited to see about it. So I wanted to get all into 2030, and I did. I was going to buy 2030 no matter what, even if they didn't give me a key. And I did eventually buy Galactic Ruler, but because it didn't really have the hype around it, right? There was no reason to do content creator things. There was no reason to cover the living fuck out of it. I mean, some people did cover it at launch, and if you look them up, they have really no more views than an average playthrough of any Supreme Ruler game gets. So I wasn't in a rush, but I did eventually buy it, and I have played it. I bought it when the price agreed with me. I bought it when I had the money, and I felt, yes, let's finally get this game. I'm ready to play it. We had just gotten through some big Supreme Ruler Ultimate series, and I was feeling bored. I was feeling like I had been doing the Supreme Ruler Ultimate over and over and over and over and over and over. I'm sick of the game being slow in 2020. I'm sick of the same bugs and exploits not being fixed. I'm sick of everything that kept happening in PvP where it's like a whole playthrough could be ruined by something so dumb, right? And this is also when we knew Supreme Ruler 2030 was coming already. It was called Supreme Ruler The Next Generation. Although I had predicted way the fuck out it would be 2030. I knew it would be 2030, and it was. But we knew the next generation was coming, we just had to wait for it. I was looking at games that would give me more content to post, grand strategy, things I thought my viewer base, not player base, I'm not a game, would be interested in. And I thought Galactic Ruler would be one. Maybe, I don't know, it's so hard to pin down what my audience likes. Like, I played VR chat, yet then my audience really liked Geopolitical Simulator. I played Geopolitical Simulator, and then my audience really liked Supreme Ruler, but no other strategy games around that. Like, I don't even know what the fucking taste is. How do you go from VR, funny memes and getting drunk, to Geopolitical Simulator, to Supreme Ruler? And then, like, what comes after that? I have no idea yet. Like, I've got a bunch of views on Eve, some first impressions, guides that I make. I'm always predicting what will get me views. And so, like, that goes into my logic of when I pick out games that I play, right? I got this game, and I think I played a little bit of Imperator, and then I sat down and I said, okay, we're gonna try out Galactic Ruler. We're gonna play some co-op of it, get ready, and we're gonna get a big PvP going, right? I want to see this 4X diplomacy where we have to worry about where the other one is and we don't know. I think it's going to be so cool. And then we got together and we played it, right? We got into multiplayer. And then we went to generate a universe, a galaxy. You have to do that. You have to generate the galaxy because it's randomly generated. There's no pre-built one. And then you have to send the files to others. Same thing in SRU. You have to, like, send the save files to everybody. But in this case, it's the universe. While you generate it too, it's a much bigger file size than just a Supreme Ruler Ultimate, like, save file. And you have to do this at the start. And I did this around the time where I started covering Supreme Ruler 2030, because even if I wasn't going to post Supreme Ruler Ultimate, I wanted the channel to focus on this series. I wanted the channel to focus on these Battlefield games, and in this fully released game, I generated it, and then I tried to send the file over just through the automated system to Narfi, because that's who I was testing it with, and it wouldn't fucking send. We tried so many things, right? On March 11th, I posted to the Steam Galactic Ruler page, like, multiplayer is completely broken. I posted everything I experienced, tried to start it regardless of what happened. Initial save transfer goes infinitely, we can't get in. We actually did get in once. I don't know what I did differently than the other times. Pretty much nothing. We spent so many hours just testing it and trying to be able to replicate the process of getting the file to transfer, and we just cannot figure it out. So 2 of us alone could not get into a multiplayer match. And as you know, until Supreme Ruler 2030 campaigns, for Supreme Ruler, I was only posting multiplayer stuff, be it co-op or what was generally more liked was the PvP stuff. In Galactic Ruler, you can't just take your fucking file and send it to someone and then they load into that and then that's it. We use that a lot in Supreme Ruler Ultimate because the transfer file is honestly like, well, it's better, but it's just as annoying in Supreme Ruler Ultimate. You can't do that here. For whatever reason, Chris said it was a required change to make this system work. You must use the in-game service to transfer files. So, when you must use the in-game service to transfer files, and then you can't, how do you play multiplayer? You don't. You waste $40 is what you do. You and everyone that got the game to play it with you. I got a response from Chris about Galactic Ruler. He's like, oh, well, we were able to get it working. I don't know what's wrong. All of us in the same building on the same network got it working just fine. I don't know why players that don't have this situation wouldn't get it working. I don't know either, just so you know. I have no idea, or I would tell him how to fix it, but I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what the problem is. And problem is, I don't know anybody else that's really tried to play fucking multiplayer of this game, so I don't even know who to go to. Like, hey, have you gotten this to work? Hey, like, what did you do differently? I don't know. Anyway, that was March 11th that I posted and that we tried. By March 13th, I got a promise from Chris that the game would go back into testing, this multiplayer system of it, and that he'd let me know if they figured anything out. They figured something out with the multiplayer, had nothing to do with my problem. It had to do with reconnecting for an already generated game. It had nothing to do with me. And then I didn't hear anything until I went back. March, April, May. 2 months later, I went back. And I was like, we did more testing because I'm not hearing anything from you. And we all spent money on this game and we're trying to make it work. You know, you advertise you have multiplayer. We can't do the multiplayer. It's not working. We don't have any ways around this. We have to go through your service and your service is not working. And he said, sorry for being slow on the issue. Done more testing. This is what I meant, this issue that had absolutely nothing to do with me. And then I pointed out that that had nothing to do with what we experienced. I said exactly all the stuff we tried, and he just said, oh, that's odd. And then that was the last I really heard of it, because then his focus went to 2030, and they haven't really been looking at Galactic Ruler this whole time. And so this started in March. Last I heard on it was May, right? So how many months are we talking? April, May, 2 months to hear back for getting nothing. April, May, June, July. I'm recording on August 7th. It's been almost 5 months since I first tried this. And I haven't seen any progress to fixing the multiplayer that is still advertised on the store page as working. I was hoping the game would get fixed. I was hoping that I would be able to play multiplayer for the game that I paid for and that my friends paid for to play with me. I can't. And there's no signs that it's being worked on, and there's no communication at all. All the communication's about Supreme Ruler 2030, of course it is. Galactic Rule's already out. They don't have to communicate, I guess. But also they sold the game saying multiplayer would work, and it doesn't. And that's why there's no multiplayer. There's no single player posted. I could have just posted single player, and I want to do that, and I will do that. Because I couldn't bring myself to post because I believed, as I said, the game would be fixed. And so I was like, well, what's the point of starting a single player playthrough? They're gonna fix it. Why would I jump to single player when I could just wait until they fix it and then I could play that? Supreme Ruler 2030's out. Supreme Ruler 2030's multiplayer is broken. We can't make that work without a desync. So now it has me looking back here again and realizing the only other game I could possibly make multiplayer on in this series that I'm not burned the fuck out on, that one's broken too. Now, I don't know if 2030's desync will be fixed. Ultimate had desync problems all the time, but you could work around them. So far, it's the same for both of these games. Chris has told me that they can't even replicate the desync issues that we have. They can't even replicate the inability to transfer a save file for generating a universe. And if the devs can't replicate it, can it get fixed? It probably can't, no. I don't know why it's like this, all right? This doesn't happen with any other game series, but this is how it is. There will be videos on these games. They will be single player. Will multiplayer ever work for either of these games? I am so highly inclined to believe no, but we'll figure it out. Hopefully, like, you know, this is the kind of thing, you gotta make noise about things, right? A lot of things that changed in the beta of Supreme Ruler 2030 was because I made big ranting videos, people watched them, people liked them, people agreed with them, and then things were changed. Things where probably would never have been changed if I didn't make a big deal about it. For example, moving the fucking construction menu in Supreme Ruler 2030. There's not really anything else to say, so thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.